job interview is one of the most anxiety-provoking situations most people can find themselves in, even when they go to plan. But what happens when you have your worst interview ever? Our guests share their worst interviews ever in the hope that you will take something from their mistakes to have a more successful interview outcome. Some of the stories are horrific and some are just downright embarrassing. Let's join our host, Kevin O'Reilly, the interview skills coach with over 25 years experience in the fields of coaching and recruitment. Let's welcome our guests to the show.
Today we are joined by Shelley Cowan, founder of Access Avenue and a champion of accessibility and inclusion. With 27 years of lived experience, Shelley has turned personal challenges into impactful campaigns like Accommodation for All. As Northern Ireland's first Purple Tuesday ambassador and a tech found her innovator, she's driving meaningful change. So let's dive into her inspiring story. Good morning, Shelley.
Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
I am very well, thank you. I'm very well, and thank you very much for joining me on this very early morning.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We're both early birds, by the sound of it.
We are, and yeah, it's enjoyable. I think in my house, I have 4 children, and it's the only time I get peace. It's first thing in the morning when there's nobody else around, so I have to get up early to have that peace.
For me, it's the only time when I really have nobody in to help care for me, so that's my time just to have a wee peace and quiet as well.
Oh, there you go. We're similar in that respect as well. Oh, Shelley, do you want to tell our audience just a little bit about yourself, if that's okay, before we get started?
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Shelley Cowan, and I'm from County Fermanagh. I became ill at 15 with severe myalgic encephalomyelitis, which left me paralysed and bedbound and requiring tube feeding and 24-hour 7 care for 12 years. And then I was a wheelchair user for 10. And it was during that time that I discovered so many challenges for integrating into society. And that's when I realised that campaigns like Accommodation for All needed to be put together in order so that everybody can fully participate in and be included in life. So that's me now, and with the help of my carers and support of people, I am now able to walk. And I was at football last night, so I'd be dancing, but I just need support all the time, and I still can't feed myself or write, so I use voice assisted technology, and that's me.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot I think our listeners are going to take away from today, just with regards to the different assistive technology and assistance that there is available out there for people who actually don't know.
It's absolutely fantastic. Over the years, it has grown. It has become so much easier to become independent with voice assisted technology. I can do my own messaging, my own emails. I can phone. It's my nurse on call. I can phone my parents or my carers, and it's just given me so much independence.
Shelley, I can hear a book out of this, you know. I can hear a book coming down the line shortly.
You're not the only one. You're not the only one that has said it.
Well, there's no excuses now. You've got it all that you need.
From the impossible comes the possible, eh?
Ooh, you may get that trademarked right away there quickly. Before this goes out live and people start to hear this and go, that's a great name for a book.
Well, there's plenty more.
That's great. That's great. Before we get really stuck into this interview, I start this and I ask this question with every single one of the people that come on here, our guests, and it's just to let them know a little bit more about you and behind who you really are. And we ask this question about hobbies and interests and any sort of hidden skills or talents. So Shelley, do you have any hidden skill or talent that not very many people know about you? Well, we know now you play the football.
I am a complete adrenaline junkie.
Oh.
Basically, when you're told no in life and that you can't do things, that really makes you want to push and want to do it. So I do things that doctors don't even know that I'm doing. I do indoor skydiving. I've done jetty jumping with the girls. I have done zip lining. They've taken me go-karting. Everything that I really shouldn't be doing, I got a whack on the head the other day. I ended up in casualty with football. You know, I will try everything. So when I'm told no, I go the complete opposite way and I will do it. I still have few things that I've been told no and completely no, but I'll get my way around that.
What an attitude. I love that. I love that. I mean, if you were 3 years of age, I would say you were stubborn, but
Oh, stubborn is not the name for it.
but I think
Um,
determined is the word.
Determined, very, very, very determined. I've always been that through my illness as well. That is why I'm no longer bedbound or, you know, I've been so determined. I was told to do 20 minutes on a standing frame. I was called the Bionic Woman. From a community raised £6,000 for a very, very high tech standing frame, which I was told to do 20 minutes a day in. And I thought, good piece of equipment there. Not going to let it go to waste. So I did 6 hours a day, and that's how I've got to be able to be where I am today. So
Wow.
don't ever give up and don't only do the bare minimum, you do more and you get the better results.
That's very true. That's that. If nothing else, that's a life lesson.
Yeah, absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
know, it's like paying your credit card bill, isn't it? If you pay the minimum, you'll forever be in its debt.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Or
Put
if you
in
take, go
put
ahead.
in what you want to get
Well, that's it, isn't it?
out.
That's it. And that's a great message for life. Put in when you want to get out. And I
Yeah,
suppose it's a great message even for interviews and why we're here today is, you know, you put what you put in, you'll get back again. Now, it may not always come to fruition within your first or second interview itself. However, the effort and the time and the energy you put in, that will come back to you with getting that job that you absolutely truly love and desire.
absolutely. Whenever I was at college, I'm partially sighted now, but at that stage I was blind. I couldn't use my hands. So for me to prepare and hold a presentation like everybody else, they wanted me to voice record it. I said no. I said I want to do my presentation like everybody else. I may be sitting in a wheelchair and I may not be fit to flick on the slides and I may not be fit to read the screen. So for me to be able to get up there and do that presentation, I spent hours and hours and hours having that read to me, repeating it, and people were blown away because I wasn't looking at a sheet. I was there in person and I was giving them the details, and they sat back and listened, and they were like, a lot of the pupils in the class seemingly were in awe, just as the fact that they weren't standing there and relying on that sheet. And,
Mm,
you know, sometimes if you give it your absolute all and you have learnt it to your fullest, you go in far more confident rather than standing with shaking sheet and wondering, oh my goodness. And it means that you can deviate from it. You know, they find the real you in there somewhere. And you're not just relying on a screen. What happens if that screen freezes on you? You are,
mm.
you know, it gives you so much more confidence to go in, you know it off by heart, and just go in and talk it from the heart.
And that's it. That's absolutely it. And it's what I would tell a lot of my clients is talk from the heart. Be
Hmm.
authentically you. Because if you have to pretend to be somebody else to get a job, when you get that job and you can't pretend to be that person,
No.
that's when the conflict, the internal conflict of yourself starts to happen, as
Yeah.
well as the conflict within the workplace as well.
Yeah, you have to be who you are, you know. You will get that job as you, you know, for yourself. Um,
Mm.
so many people just say it's my smile, and if you can bring whatever it is that is you to that interview or to that panel, that's where people will like you. You know, that's
Yeah. Well, they do say that a smile actually builds rapport very, very quickly. So that and eye contact.
my smile gets me in bother.
I'm sure it does. And for the listeners that can't see it, it would definitely get her in bother, let me tell you. Okay, so there's definitely times in your past where you've had these absolute highs and lows with regards to career. And we
Absolutely.
we have discussed this off screen for very slightly because I wanted to be surprised as well, just like all of the listeners. So tell us a little bit about some of those highs that you've had within your career so far.
Oh my goodness, this year has been absolutely amazing. Number one, I'm still in recovery from my illness, and to even be able to be up and about and be independent, that was a massive improvement for me, and something that I probably thought was never going to happen. I always wanted it to happen. But the thought of becoming a disabled entrepreneur, a disabled female entrepreneur in a rural area has just blown my mind. I created Access Avenue this year, and I am providing organisations a pathway to become accessible and show them what they're missing out on with the Purple Pound, and that is the spending power of the disabled. It's currently worth 274 billion annually in the UK, and businesses are losing out a lot. But from the Accommodation for All campaign, launching it a few months ago, to becoming the first cohort for Tech Founder, to become innovative and drive change through tech. And it's an All Ireland programme to be included, and that's amazing. I became the Northern Ireland first Purple Tuesday ambassador, which is to drive accessibility and inclusion throughout the world, to basically improve customer experience and just to let everybody, as I said earlier, fully participate in society. And I work all along the hospitality industry, but my passion is in every sector. Whether that be education, travel, services, no matter what, we all need a good experience and we all need to be fully participating. And then recently I have become an advisor, we have to get it right, it's mouthy, an advisor for the Accessible Hospitality Alliance in the UK Forum. So it's all happening here, and I'm working on new technology to assist people with disabilities with their travel. So all in all, life is extremely crazy, busy, but that's the way I love it.
Shelley, when do you sleep?
I don't.
Well, that's clear. That's clear.
I think I had about 2 hours sleep last night, but my mind is on total overdrive, and I'm like a kid, honestly. I've for years told that I was never going to improve, and to get this now, I just love life. And I'm like, I was in London recently, and I just felt like, you know, the movie Elf, where he's just been brought into New York.
Yes.
Yeah, that's me on an everyday basis. So I'm just bouncing around, yes, with help and support, but everything is new to me. Everything is like, whoa.
Shelley, was that always the case, or is this because of this place you are in your life right now?
My mum said I was the shyest person when I was a child. She said, God forbid if Shelley ever took me our appendicitis and needed to get an injection. I've had to come through a hell of a lot in between that. But Mummy said I wouldn't have said boo to anybody. Now she says, I don't know where you've got this confidence out of it.
Oh, it's an appreciation for life, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it's an appreciation and a gratitude for what I have.
Yeah.
I am so grateful for the small things in life. You know, it's the being able to get socks on. I actually have my purple socks on today because it's an International Day for Persons with Disabilities. So it's the being grateful for the small things, like being able to get out of bed in the morning, being able to have food, because for 12 years I was tube fed. And when you have that gratefulness in your heart and the gratefulness, every day you have that more positive attitude. And when you have a positive attitude and think of good things, I can tell you more good things keep coming. Opportunities just seem to flow out of the woodwork.
Yeah. And I think you're right there. You know, you touched on that, thinking about good things, and we are what we think.
Absolutely.
We are what we think. You know, and every morning when my feet touch the ground, I am grateful for my feet touching the ground, because I know there are people there who can't do that. And I say that to myself every single morning when my feet touch the ground. I am grateful for my feet touching the ground this morning.
And there's one thing that my mum always taught me was, no matter what you're going through, no matter how hard today is, you don't have to go through, you know, that's today, tomorrow's a different day. And there are always somebody worse off than yourself. Don't always think that you're the one going through this on your own.
Yeah, and I think that's very relevant, and those Irish mothers are, I hate to say, they're usually right. They're usually right. I have one of
They
them
are.
myself. I
They
have
are.
one of them myself. So yes,
And they know
they're
you're
great.
thinking.
Yeah, it's because they've been there and done that, and I don't believe that, like, but that's what I'm told. They've been there and done that and seen it all. But no, I do believe that, actually, because the advice that comes from my mother and mothers like her is worth its weight in gold.
Absolutely, absolutely. They've been there, they've done it, and you know what? They're not afraid of life anymore.
No,
Excuse me.
absolutely not. No,
They've been through their challenges, and they're just like, we got to go through this, and they've got to have to do this attitude. You got to do
yeah.
it, and that's
Yeah.
it.
You got to do it. You got to get on with it. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a great attitude to have, isn't it? And I
Absolutely.
mean, your attitude is just wonderful. It's really lifting and light, because there are so many people that are going around today having these third world challenges of, "Oh, my car is broke, so I can't get to work," and it's
But
almost like,
that's
but
that
you
is
can.
that is everybody has their challenges in life, no matter how small or
Mm,
how big. To
yep.
some people, they just can't get over those challenges, and for some people, the more the merrier. They kind of thrive on it. But everybody in life has their challenges, and I think it's just you have to be kind to every person that you meet, because you just don't know what they're going through, and you just don't know, you know, that one wee thing that somebody says to somebody, that could just be the tipping point for some people, and
Mm.
we just have to be so kind and not opinionated anymore. There is a lot of opinions out there, and I think we just have to let everybody live. Let everybody live, and don't be worried about everybody else. Just go with your own flow in life.
That would be wonderful if everybody could take that advice. Genuinely, I work with a lot of clients who are more concerned about what other people think of them than what they think of themselves, which is where they are right now in their life, and that's okay.
Hmm.
We work with
Hmm.
that.
Absolutely.
However, it's wonderful when they start to realize that it doesn't really matter what other people think. It matters what I think about
Mhm.
me.
You know what, people? I've started to realize. I used to think I'm in a wheelchair. People are looking at me. People are wondering what's happened to me, and yes, they do. But on the grand scale of things, a lot of people are more interested in looking at their mobile phone,
They are.
and they're more worried about what they look like to others, and their concerns. And you know what? You start to realize that people really don't care.
You don't. Do you know what I've come to realize, Shelley? That people are quite self-consumed, and they think about themselves. Yes, they might give you an initial thought, and then it's back to them. And
Yes.
you know what? That's fine, and that's okay. But I think it's the other person. It may have been yourself who took that on board and thought about that for a day, whereas they just had a fleeting moment of, oh, there's a lady in a wheelchair. Wonder how she got there. Oh, what's that on my phone?
Yeah, it's
And
straight
away they
away,
go.
it's straight away different. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
straight away different. And it's
yeah.
the same whenever I've been on panels and talks, and I'm becoming better at it. But I sit and I shake, and I can feel myself shaking, and I come off thinking sometimes I think, oh my goodness, I could do so much better. And then you realize people come to you and say, oh my goodness, that was a brilliant speech. You really inspired me. And you're thinking, really? And you think, actually, you know what? You need to stop thinking of all the wee bits at the side and think of what the outcome has been to others. And
And
that's,
that's it. And that's it, isn't it? And I was witness to this speech of yours the other
goodness.
week. And just like you'd said there, I was very inspired. So much inspired that I actually reached out, and that's why you're on the podcast today.
That
Because I
was
thought you were
brilliant.
absolutely fantastic. And it was that authenticity that really shone through. And it was that grit and attitude. And it's that type of person that I want on this show.
It's
It's that, yeah,
passion.
it's
I
the
have a
passion.
passion. Yeah.
You really have a passion, and that comes through. Even with the way you were speaking, you may have been nervous. That's okay, but you did it
Mhm.
anyway.
I did it. Yeah. It takes a lot for somebody. Never mind somebody that can walk up on that stage on their own, but in front of people, to be armed up on the stage, to have your leg lifted, to be placed, to not be able to use a microphone. So I have all these things going in my head. Am I anywhere near the microphone? Can everybody hear me? I can't hold it. You know, I would love to be able to hold a microphone to kind of ground me, to have something to do. It's all these things, that wee extra things I have to think about.
Yeah.
And then you just think, you know what, I'll feck it, just go with it.
Yeah, but
And then you think,
that's
I'm here now, I'm going to have to say something.
well, you know, I know you use the word there, have to, and I
Yeah,
pick up on all of these little tiny nuances within language. You get to,
yeah.
you
And you
get
get,
to,
you get to love the stage. You know, you get
you
to
do.
really, you think, this is my time to show my voice and to share with everybody the challenges that people with disabilities face.
Well,
I have to be the voice for people, and that's what
that's
I
it.
not have to be. I am the voice for people with
That's it.
disabilities. And if I can show others a bit of hope, or show them that they can do things through, no matter what ability they have, no matter what challenges, then that has made my day, and it has been worth all the shakes and the nervousness, and it has been worth all of it on the stage.
So it's bigger than you,
It is. Oh,
and
yeah. It's a calling,
where
really. Yeah.
yeah, and that's where that strength comes from. It's when we think about others and almost that service to others that we have that strength, and we get to have that strength
Mhm.
because it's like you say, when you get up on stage, you have that sort of nervousness, and you have a million other things you would not, somebody else may not have to think about,
Yeah.
and you have to think about all of these things. Well, when I get on stage, when I used to get on stage, I was very similar to yourself. My knees would be knocking, my voice would be shaking, my mouth would be dry. I couldn't actually hold paper because of the amount of rustling that was going on, and I didn't want that to be seen by other people to see how nervous I was. But like you, my head goes to the bigger picture, goes to the people who want to stand up on stage and want to deliver a message of hope. And I speak to those people and I try and
Mhm.
encourage those people to get up on stage themselves. I've been actually tasked at that conference we were both speaking at.
Oh, yeah.
I was challenged to find someone within the crowd to speak at the next conference in March.
Hmm.
And I am so enjoying getting that person to where they need to be.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant.
Because it's those people who are going to make the biggest difference, or it will
Mhm.
make the biggest difference to those people.
And it'll show everybody that it is possible. And it may, for a lot of people, it is a fear.
Oh,
And it's I remember whenever I was wheelchair bound, and I had joined a group called Bright Stars, and it
mm,
was to provide adults with disabilities an opportunity to do drama. And every year we put on a show in the Ardone Theatre. And I am not joking you, they told me I had to sing Susan Boyle, I Dreamed a Dream on my own. And I took nervousness. I actually got to the point I couldn't sing it with anybody else in the room bar the teacher. I was sitting in under the table. I was knocking the table. My knees were shaking. And I actually got to stage. I said, this is not on. Because you're going to have an ambulance sitting waiting for me. It's not normal. But you push yourself and you push yourself. And for 6 months, I did this shaking. And you see, the night I got on stage, it completely disappeared. I knew I had a job to do. And I was like, get on that stage and do it. It's like at that panel, my legs are starting to shake, and I have no control over where I put my legs. And
mm.
I can just remember as I was giving my speech about, and I have a dream like Martin Luther King, and I was giving all this about equality, and that my dream was inclusive, sustainable futures. And I remember telling myself, just put your feet to the ground and speak.
You had a good word with yourself. Is that what you're saying?
I was having a chat to myself in the middle of speaking. You see, women can multitask.
Well, do you know what? Sometimes this happens with me. If I'm on stage and I look around and I see one or two people not engaged,
Yeah.
I'm going, it's not that I look at that as a negative and go, oh no, they're not listening to me. I must not be good. That's sometimes where people go to. I think, okay, this is an opportunity now to put in a few of these other techniques that I have to engage and encourage more participation. Now, you can't land with everybody. I know that. It's an impossibility to do that. You can try your best, but it is that little voice sometimes in your head. Mine used to be that negative voice. If I had seen someone like that, I'd have been like, oh my goodness, there's someone on their phone there. I am boring them to death. Or now it's like, oh my goodness, there's someone on their phone. Let's bring out the new tool I have in my toolbox. Let's try and engage that person.
You're trying to
Let's
engage them all.
focus. Yeah,
That's
and
that's like
it's a different way of thinking, isn't it?
that's like I was over in London recently and it was so funny. Everybody told me if you get an Uber, nobody's going to talk to you. So my challenge was before I get out of that Uber, I was going to have each one of them speaking to me, and every one of those drivers spoke to me.
It'd be Shelley. I've known you for a little, very short time. It would be hard to ignore you. It would be
Definitely.
hard to ignore you.
You have no choice.
You have no choice.
Well, you were saying about engagement, and last year I did a Rotary conference for all of Ireland. I am going to admit it was one of my first real speaking opportunities in front of so many people. I have never heard a room go as quiet in my life. And I will admit I brought about 200 men to tears. And that's where you kind of think, oh my goodness. And you think, normally you hear engagement and sometimes you think, oh, the big ooh or ah or whatever. But this room was completely silent. And that was a wee bit off-putting. But it was only until I realised when I came off that stage that they were going through that journey with me. So it was a hard-hitting speech about my illness. And there was people there that was, affected by it. They had daughters in the audience at the same age as I became ill. So sometimes your message is hard-hitting and you have to, I actually give a lot of myself and I drain myself up on that stage because you're given your life story out. But to me, that is my job and I have to give out everything I have got on that stage so that people come away with a message.
And what is that message that you're wanting to give away?
That message is that no matter what, people with abilities should be seen and being fully included in this society. We have 30 years ago, people with disabilities would have been hidden. Now we are out and about in society. We want to be more involved. We want to be included. But our society is built in an environment that isn't accessible for everybody. So I want organisations and the community to commit to becoming more accessible. You don't have to become more all inclusive tomorrow, but if you commit to one thing every year, then as time goes on, we will become a more inclusive society. And that is my message. And that is what I'm going to keep preaching. And the more people that will fully participate in society, the bigger this smile is going to get.
I don't think it can get any bigger, Shelley. I'll be completely honest with you. It is a full on smile, and like you said, it's very disarming as well. That smile really disarms people.
Yeah, they just see me. There's no way of hiding anything.
That's it. But I'm sure there's been a time where that smile has been hard to put on. And we're talking about career and we're talking about entrepreneurialism. There's bound to be in a time where it was forced on, for want of a better phrase, because of a particularly hard or pivotal moment within the life.
Absolutely. There's been more than one. It's going from wanting to do a certain course and not being able to do it. It's about pushing to be able to have a writer and a scribe in the classroom. I have had discrimination even in colleges where the teacher wasn't sure as to how to teach me. So she made it the pupil's problem. And in the middle of that, I was just told one day to leave the classroom where 24 pupils or my people in the classroom could take a vote on whether I was allowed to stay in the classroom, whether they wanted me there or not. So I sat at the front of reception in college, wondering, do I go home? Or do I want to go back into that classroom where people have been discussing whether they want me there or not? So I have had it on all types. I've I've been using voice assistive technology to go through my masters, and I am not joking you. If there's anything frustrating in life, it's technology when it doesn't listen to a Fermanagh accent. And when it puts in the wrong word and you think there's a 10,000 dissertation here and it just doesn't sound right. Or indeed, when you're nearly there and you say the wrong command and you have deleted everything, but you get there. And the other frustrating thing is, yes, I had my master's and I qualified and it was brilliant. And the girls walked me across the stage. That was one big thing in my life I wanted to do. And because I had no qualifications when I became ill, I wanted to relearn. And a big thing was to get to be graduated and have something to have physically to say I've done it. But I did. I went to graduation as a wheelchair user, but my last graduation was for my master's, and that was in international business. And I wanted to walk across the stage. So with help, I was able to walk across the stage. But unfortunately, then, whenever I posted on LinkedIn about my achievements, I was getting calls from, you name it, every part of the world. And with my illness, I just had to refuse them and I had to say no. And the thought of not being able to go and achieve that was what was hard to take. It was hard to manage. To think, right, I've done my study, but I can't do anything with it. But then better things come along. Sometimes you have to take the knocks and the falls, and you take the no's. And look what's happened to me now. I am now here today, a few years after graduating, having said no to all these jobs, and now I've actually started my own career and I'm helping others. So what better can you ask for?
Well, that's it. Sometimes you gotta say no to some things for the right things to come around. And again, you know, if we keep reverting this back to the interview situation, you don't have to take every job that you're offered. You don't have to take every job that you've interviewed for and receive that offer. An interview is a two-way process, and it has to be a decision made by you.
It has to be the right one at the right time. Like for me,
Yeah.
at that time, my health was the barrier. I wouldn't have been able to literally bring my girls to America. It would have been a lovely thought.
Yeah.
But I even wanted a, a student lifestyle, but I wasn't able to have that. I had to do it from long distance learning. It would have been lovely to go out partying. It would have been lovely to socialize, meet friends, and have it to say, I've done it. I've had the student's lifestyle. But
Yeah.
there's some things in life that just the timings aren't right. And you know, sometimes that setting isn't right. And maybe saying no sometimes actually brings better yeses.
I'm a believer in that. Shelley, I'll share a little secret with you. Just between you and I, of course.
Oh, and everybody else.
No way. No, no, no. For 12 months. Well, let me start that again. Have you ever seen the movie Yes Man? No, it's a Jim Carrey movie. Okay, and for those out there who might be a skeptic of Jim Carrey, it's a great movie. He said yes to everything for a period of time. Absolutely everything. Didn't matter what it was. At one stage in the movie, he ended up with no clothes on him, with no money in his bank, and with no house or car. But he said yes to everything. So this was a
Okay.
little philosophy. And I thought at that time that I was saying no or not making a decision on things, which was just keeping me exactly where I was. And where
Absolutely.
I was not happy. So I decided that I was going to say yes to everything for 12 months, as long as it met three very simple criteria. As long as it was benefiting my family, as long as it benefited me, and as long as it wasn't illegal. Okay, so
Okay.
those were the three criteria
Okay.
that I
Yeah.
had to meet. Yeah, they're pretty
Yeah.
good, I would
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
It took me quite some time to think of those three, to be completely honest. Because when I tried to start it, there were certain things that were asked of me, and I thought, no, that's illegal for a start. So that was one of those non-negotiables that I had to build into this. this philosophy of mine. And let me tell you, that changed that year, that 12 months, absolutely changed my life for the better.
Well, I get you, because I have this saying that, you know, grab every opportunity that comes.
Mm,
These opportunities don't just come along, they come along for you. Grab every one that's and you just flow with it. Now, I'm going to switch that, because I was a yes woman for everything.
okay.
I was a yes woman for no matter what. And that leaves you very vulnerable. That
Mm,
leaves you open to people to use you. That
yep.
leaves you open to people to think that you're all sweetness and light and everything can be done. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
But I have noticed since starting the career that if you say yes to everything, you're going to dive yourself into, you're going to burn yourself out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my New Year's resolution is going to be say no, say no. Say no to
Okay.
people who are coming on board to try and, they're wanting to use your knowledge and your skills and see how good that can be to them. You've got to know when yes is the right point.
Yep.
Say yes to the things that are going to drive you forward. Say yes to the things that are going to help with what your purpose is. Say yes to everything unless it's going to cause you hurt, make you unhappy, and not go align with what you're doing. And that's my so there's a time for yes and there's a
Mm-hmm.
time for no. But also by saying no, you know your worth. And
Yes.
that is that there's certain lessons in life when you realize, there's people out there, and that can be in jobs as well. They're looking to get the most out of you,
Mm-hmm.
probably for the littlest amount of money, but you need to know your worth, and you need to know that your purpose and being in part of that job aligns with what your values are. So that I'll flip that a bit.
Well, and if we actually look at that, you've set yourself those criteria to say yes, and then when they don't meet that criteria, it's a simple no.
It's a simple no.
And it's pretty
Simple
much
no.
how I did it for that 12 months. It
Yeah,
was set the criteria, understand what was important to me, what was giving me something instead of taking away, and then set that and be really rigid with it. Now, I know flexibility is a really important skill to have.
yeah. Uh-huh.
When it comes to those values that we hold dear,
Hold them tight.
I don't think there's any flexibility within that to a
Hold them
certain,
tight. No.
absolutely hold them tight. There's people that don't even know what their values are out there, and that's a
Well,
real struggle.
it's a struggle. It's a struggle, but what I will tell you is you will find them. You will find them, and as the years go on, you also realize you don't want to be involved in drama. You don't want to be involved in negativity, and sometimes that means moving away from people and people that are holding you back.
Yep.
And unless somebody is 100% behind you and has support you, move away,
Yep.
because these negativities in life, you know, we only are here for a short time. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. I was reading a statistic the other day, which shocked me a little bit, to be completely honest. And it says the average lifespan for an adult in the UK is 89 years of age. So
you know,
that's 89 Christmases if you're lucky, and
this,
89 summers.
enjoy it. Enjoy
And when
it.
you think about that, it's not a long time.
No,
And I think again when you and someone will correct me when out there about my calculations here, but I think it's like 5,687 Mondays.
oh goodness.
That's not a
And
lot.
it counts down very quickly, doesn't
Yes, especially when you're on the other side of that half, which I am. So it
it?
sort of counts down a little bit quicker. But again, without sounding like we're focusing on that morality question, we do have to take it into account sometimes and think we're not here for a long time. We
No.
have to get out of our own way. We are only holding ourselves back. It's not others that are doing that. We are
And
doing that to ourselves.
yeah, it's even down to, are you happy in your job? is this the one for you? You have to, whenever you're going through interview processes, you have to decide, are you getting the right vibe from them? Are you going to be happy there for the next 20 years of your life or whatever it is? Because that is going to be a big chunk of your life. You
Yeah.
know, you have to get on with your colleagues, and you just have to ask, is this for you?
Yeah. Yeah. And I suppose finding those people that have those values that both you and I seemingly have and share. If you were going in for a job interview, what sort of values would you expect or want from that organization?
I would want to know that they were inclusive to everybody, no matter what ability. I would want to know that there was a good teamwork. I would want to know that their values would align with purpose. And, I would do a lot of research. I would check that company out. I would check it out, see what reviews are. I would be asking, different people about how they felt there. Was there good morale in it? And also know underneath what the company lies for and what their values are. Because if
Mm,
they don't align with you, I wouldn't even go for the interview.
yeah. And I suppose that brings me neatly to our next question with regards to red flags. What do you think would be your red flags when you walked into that interview and you thought and you sat down and you went, oh, no.
I would I would say, well, for me, I would have to be brought in and supported, but it it would be asking too much about my disability, asking too much about my ability, I suppose I would say. Speaking, if I suppose, like, as a female, they'd be asking about your status in life and your children and whether you'd be able, or if you had any children. The red flags for me would be asking things like, how long do I think? Um, More knowing about my life rather than interested in what my qualifications were and things like
Mm,
that. Sometimes there's things you want to say and there's things you don't, but it would be lovely to go in and get the vibe that you would feel open and honest, and it would be that you could tell them without them asking you those questions about your abilities.
okay. Okay. So just being nosy, way too nosy.
Being way too nosy, and digging too deep. If they ask the questions that are totally to do with their organization, and that's perfect. That's perfectly fine. But I would flip that on and say, where you're being interviewed, you start to ask them questions. Make sure you have questions to fire back at them. Um, I always, no matter what I'm doing, I will ask, and how is that outcome going to, and how and what way does this work? You be clear when you leave that interview room that it is the right choice for you, not leaving it and then thinking, oh, I should have asked that, and I should have asked that,
Mm,
and I'm accepting this job, but I really don't know if that aligns with me. You know, I really don't know if I can work my life around that. So ask in the interview, and then it shows then that you're prepared to speak out and you're prepared to know exactly what you're taking on. You wouldn't go into a restaurant and just take something off the menu without knowing what it was. Ask what's in it. Ask what's in it, and am I going to like it?
Shelley, you've never been out to dinner with me, I take it. I'm a very let's try it and we'll see kind of
Well,
guy, you know.
I
As long as it's not too spicy, Shelley.
oh
That's
no,
the caveat.
no, I
Anything
love
else, I'm
spice.
all right. I will literally try anything, you know, to the point where I've tried deep fried salt and vinegar crickets. And
Oh.
yeah, you know, I've tried lots. I'm open to culinary experiences, so I'm happy to do that.
Well, you wouldn't want to be out with me because I'm so many allergies and so many sensitivities. So I have to check that menu to the absolute. That's probably I tear it apart because I have to make sure that I'm not going to be ill over the head of it. Think of that as your job. Are you going to enjoy it, or are you going to become ill someday with it? Is it going to affect your mental health?
Hmm.
You know, think of it as it's a long-term thing you're doing. You wouldn't buy a house without going and inspecting it. So that would be
No,
my
absolutely. maybe here's another
Test drive
little.
your car.
Well, here's another opportunity, maybe for you with regards to your business as it is. Maybe you do look at the different menus and make comment on the allergens within that.
That
Maybe
is
that's an
part of what
option.
I'm going to be doing. Yeah.
Ah, okay, okay.
I am a chef's worst nightmare, but you know what?
But you remember you're fighting for the bigger picture,
Yes,
and that's what
yes.
it is.
Yeah.
And you made that comment about the 274 billion purple pound. That
And it's
actually,
growing.
that sort of, I'm rarely lost for words. That had me lost for words.
Well, it's 13 trillion annually globally. And that's when you take on board the friends and family of the purple pound. But you've got to realize that when somebody with a disability goes on holiday or travels,
Mm.
especially if they're a wheelchair user or has, lowered mobility, they bring at least one, possibly up to three extra companions with them. So for the hospitality industry, they're missing out.
Oh, big time. Big
Yeah.
time. All that additional food and drink that it'll be
Food and
consumed.
drink and extra rooms and extra
Mm.
flights and you name it. And as
Oh,
I say, there are only 17 fully accessible hotels in the UK and Ireland, and there are more pet-friendly hotels than there is fully accessible hotels, and that is the scary thing. When we think of all-inclusive holidays, what do you think of?
um, free food, free drink. That's it.
That's it. But all inclusive to me should mean that everybody is included in holidays, and that is what I want, and in travel, and that's what I want to get my voice out.
And who would you want to speak to? You have a platform here right now. Which organizations and companies would you want to speak to support that?
Hospitalities, hoteliers, accommodation providers, transportation, airlines, even the customer themselves realize that yes, you may have different abilities, but realize that down the line there will be a platform where you can go and travel. And if I can go and re-educate myself, go and do it, push the barriers, push them. I'm not saying break them, bend them slightly. And anybody out there, any organizations out there that want to become more accessible and more inclusive and go for that purple pound, and also not just for the money, but to become an organization where you're inclusive to everybody, then just get in touch with me.
Wonderful. That's absolutely wonderful. Now, Shelley, I'm going to change pace ever so slightly. Okay,
Okay.
I'm going to change pace ever so slightly. We're going to do a quick fire question round.
Okay.
Now, to let you know, these are questions that I am asked weekly by clients, and whenever I call these questions out, the guests make a funny face, which our listeners can't see.
Okay.
Because some of them are weird and wonderful, and some of them are almost offensive, but they are questions I get asked quite regular. That's why they're asked. And it's always great to hear somebody else's opinions on it. The easiest way and the simple way to answer these questions is very simply yes, no, pass.
Yes, no pass. Okay.
Yes, no, or pass. Okay, so
Okay.
are we ready to go?
Fire away.
Okay. Is it acceptable to wear pajama bottoms to a Zoom interview?
Absolutely. I'm wearing them now.
Should a candidate smile during the interview?
Yes. Show your personality. Show who you are.
Is it okay to bribe the interviewers?
Oh, yes. Do whatever you have to. Bring them a wee box of chocolates if that was needed.
I suppose a bribe can be something as subtle as a lovely box of chocolates or a coffee.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Is it wise to ask the interviewer for a selfie together at the end?
Depending, maybe, pass, but that's
Okay,
depending on
Pat.
what it is.
We'll come back to that one.
Yeah.
Should you answer the first question with a dramatic pause for effect?
Only, only if you're stuck. So, no.
Should women wear high heels to an interview?
Yes.
Is it acceptable to ask the interviewer how much they make?
No.
Should you high five the interviewer at the end?
Pass.
Should a candidate swear during an interview?
No.
Is it okay to bring your mum to the interview for moral support?
No.
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 And that's the question, Shelley.
Okay.
Any weird and wonderful ones that totally threw you a little bit?
The high five one threw me a wee bit, but
Yeah.
different scenarios, that's what I'm saying. I was like, I'm a wee bit confused with them. With me
Yeah.
being on panels, I come off them quite regularly and somebody gives you a high five, and I've never met this person in my life. So I have actually done that. I would say wear heels, do anything in your power that you have to give you confidence. I am nearly 6 foot and I would wear my heels. I was a wheelchair user and I was still wore my heels. So as a woman, a lot of the time, a pair of heels gives you confidence. And if that gives you confidence, go in. If you can't walk in your heels, go in flats. Because you fall in front of the interview.
I think that's a great message. Actually, I think that's a great message. Yes, yes. I have seen that happen once or twice in interviews. Yeah, and I thought this is probably the first time they've ever worn those shoes.
But what I would say is, do not go over with too much makeup. Don't hide who you are. Go in, yes, have a bit of foundation on to make yourself a bit better looking, healthier looking, but don't go in orange. Don't go in overdoing it, and don't go in totally plastered with makeup to the point that you are already showing that you're hiding yourself. You're already showing that you need to be hidden behind something. Don't do it. Just go in and be yourself.
Be yourself. That's a great
Yourself.
message, isn't it? Just be
Yeah.
yourself.
Be yourself. Go in and I always think of it, go in as if these people are your family. Go in as if they know you and it's just a wee chat. Because really, an interview really is, when you boil it down, it's a chat with somebody. And that you can make it as formal or as informal by how you go in and think about it. They all had to get out of the bed in the morning. They all needed to they're probably pulling themselves, trying to keep themselves awake. They're probably bored going through about 13 people already. They're probably thinking of their lunch. And, just think of them as ordinary human beings. Think of them as your mum and your dad and your brother who's sitting around a breakfast table, and just go in and think, okay, these are all the same as myself.
Well, that is a great message. I had actually one client who said, I go into interviews and I look at the panel as if they're my granny.
Yeah.
And I said, what do you mean by that? And he says, well, my granny's in her 80s, and grannies being grannies, they ask you a million questions and they sort of interrogate you,
Yeah.
but they do it because they love you and they just want to
Yeah.
know about you and they want to know.
They just want to get the best out of you.
Yeah. And I said, great, well then let's pretend the interview panel is your granny. And each one of them is one of your grandparents, and all they're doing is asking you questions. And I said, simplify your answer so that your granny will know what you do.
Yeah.
Simplify your answer so that they know that you know what you've just been asked. And that gentleman got the job thinking that the panel was his granny.
Yeah. Yeah. And at the end of the day, really, who is going to sit on an interview panel and interrogate you to make you do wrong or bad in an interview? They are wanting to find the absolute best in you. They're wanting to find what you can bring to the team. They're not there. Why would they bring you for an interview to try and put you down? You know what I mean? So
I do.
just go in and think, they're just wanting to find out exactly what I can bring to the table. And
That's it.
you only
They want
have
to
a few
find
minutes to do that.
they want to find the best person so they can stop interviewing. That's what
Yeah.
they want to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I
they
know
can
that
get on with it.
myself. Like, through the years, I have had hundreds of carers. And when you don't use agency, I have had to interview people. And like, with having a disability, I will have to have my mum or my aunt come on board. So they ask questions that I don't think of. I'm thinking of, oh, I wonder will they take me out to disco? I wonder will they do this and that. But you have to have the ones beside you that'll do the serious things, like will they look after Shelley? Have they got the skills? And a lot of the time I bring on girls who don't even have skills in the care, because everybody can look after somebody. Everybody can learn that skill. So, and it's just a matter of, somebody could be the best speaker at an interview, but
Mhm.
yet they aren't the best of a carer.
Yeah.
So an interview to me means, do they come in and they're nice and bubbly? Have they got a lovely character? Have they got a character where you know in certain situations they're not going to be too loud or swear, or you have to think of all these things. Because I'm going into college, I'm going to doctor's
Yeah.
appointments, you have to know that you have that all rounder. And the only way I will find that out is by, as I say, can you call around for a wee chat? Sometimes the word interview puts a lot of people under pressure. So
Those.
I don't even say interview whenever I message these girls back. I just say, when are you free for a wee chat? And we'll have a wee discussion what the job entails. And
Yeah.
sometimes I think that word interview means like, whoa.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It comes across as interview equals interrogation.
yes, yeah, but it's not. An interview to me, bring it back down, bring informal, a wee chat. It's a chat to discuss, are you aligning with us and can we bring you on, or would you like us? And that's just the way it is.
And that's it, isn't it? That when you boil it down, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I think it's taking that, it's making it more human and
Hmm.
humanizing the whole process and
Absolutely.
realizing that it's humans that are involved in the process and taking that formality almost out of it, but not taking the professionalism out of it, but taking the
And
formality out of it.
and don't forget those people on the panel, like myself. I'm meeting this person for the first time. I'm nervous meeting this person for the first time. I'm hoping, oh, I hope they're okay. I hope they're nice. I'm just remember those people going into interview. The interviewer has nervousness. They're thinking, what am I going to ask? You know, they're probably thinking the same. So it's a flip
Mm,
coin. We're all in the same situation. So the interviewer's nervous too.
absolutely. Absolutely. I've sat in, I don't know, hundreds of panels, thousands of panels, and and I will be when I first started, I would have been nervous. Now it's just old
Oh,
hat
it
and it's just
becomes like
something you do.
riding a bike.
It does. But at the very beginning, I was thinking, oh, I'm quite nervous here. I'm supposed to be the one asking the questions, and you sort of it sort of throws you a little bit, but you get like everything else, you get used to it.
And you're hoping that you're asking the right question to take the absolute best out of that person, that not to make them nervous but to make them at ease. So you have to do it with a smile, and do it in a way that you are becoming familiar. We are all strangers to each other that you're meeting there, and
Yeah,
that is the hard thing. A lot of social anxiety, is out there, and even for some people to just walk into a shop is hard. So I can understand interviews can be tough.
they can. And the thing about interviews, and I think even maybe from your point of view as well, is they are not accessible to everybody.
No,
They're just
absolutely not.
not fit for
Absolutely not.
purpose in the general sense. And there could be something that we have a conversation about further about this because I do see a lot of organizations, and they do bring me in to consult on their interview process, that are not very friendly
Absolutely not.
towards disabilities.
I have discovered this on many occasions, where when I was a wheelchair user, they'd want me to come in, and I physically couldn't get into the building.
Mm,
So accommodations would have to be made. Maybe I would meet them outside of that, maybe in a coffee shop. Sometimes it's been done by phone or by Zoom.
yeah,
Um, when I was doing my masters, I interviewed 100 international wheelchair users. Now, we had barriers with different nationalities and their
mm,
understanding. We had barriers where people couldn't type. So I spoke to them on the phone. Others didn't want to speak in person but preferred to send message. So I had email, phone, Zoom, and I had a whole range of accessible conversations going and interview opportunities so that nobody was left out. A
yeah,
lot of organizations say, this is what we need to do. I'm sent even down to, can you, reference somebody or to be a referee? And they don't realize that it's hard for me to even respond to that via an email. So
yeah.
not so the forms are not even accessible. So I think we just need to have a variety in place where everybody's included. And for some people, it's like exams. They may know everything, but go into that exam and they don't know. So it's
Mm,
it's how do you get the best out of people that suit their needs?
yeah. And you know, even I'd like to go even one step further and say that, you know, the word accommodations potentially shouldn't even be there. It should be
Mm.
accessible for everybody regardless.
Yeah,
So,
and
you
you
know,
can choose.
yeah,
You've
yeah,
got
that's
a
it.
chance to choose,
You have a
and
choice
then
rather than being told this is what you have to do and you have to come in here at this time and you have to be here at this and you have to be in person and blah blah blah. Surely there's an easier way
and
to.
if those were already there and people could select them, for a lot of people that already is a barrier they wouldn't have to bridge. They wouldn't have to say, actually, I'm dyslexic. They wouldn't have to say, I can't get there in person. They wouldn't have to say, I can't maybe afford my taxi to get to that place.
Yeah,
That gives it opens up a huge way, and people can participate in. That's probably things that's maybe stopping them from going for a job.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. There's one. I'm going to use the word accommodation that I will always recommend that my clients ask for when they go in, regardless if they need it or not. And it's just a very simple, could I have the questions that you're about to ask written down on a page so I can read them?
Yeah,
Because when you get into that interview situation and stress starts to kick in, which happens, you forget the question that you've just been asked and you go off on a tangent, and this is what happens.
and then
Whereas-
you don't have to ask. Then what did you say?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, I'm very visual. I'm very visual. I'm not an auditory person. I'm very visual. So if you ask me a question, I would struggle. If it's a long question, I would struggle to picture that in my head.
Hmm.
Whereas if you give me that question written down and then ask me the question, I have no problem whatsoever.
I
Explain that.
I find whenever I'm doing interviews, there's maybe a question inside a question inside a question inside a
Yeah.
question, and I'm like, you've just asked me 5 questions, and where do I start? So it's about making sure that they're tailored and understood. Everybody can only take so many questions on board in one time, and it's like
Hmm.
quick fire round, and you're like, just sometimes I would just say, and I'll answer the first part of that question and then have time in my head to think, and what was the other bit they were asking me? And somewhere
But
along the line, hopefully pull out of the air what they're looking for.
you see, you know, why I don't understand why they make it this difficult. I understand if there's a pressurized job and this is part of the process, but the majority of jobs are not like that. And what I mean by that is if your boss has said something to you, they'll either potentially follow it up with an email, follow it up with another conversation, or you can at least ask questions to clarify what it was. Whereas in an interview, you're almost expected to know exactly what it
Straight
is they
there.
want. Yeah, them being able to come up with the answer on the spot.
And also, if you were able to email them back with an answer, you can take time. You can walk about the house. You can go for a wee walk. You can put some music on. You can calm yourself, or use ChatGPT and ask, how would I answer this? And change it up a wee bit, and don't use the big terminology, but put it back into your words. But it gives you a starting point. It gives you something to have on paper. And it's absolutely brilliant. Or ask somebody, how would you answer this?
Yeah.
And then put it into your own words. But when you're put on the spot, you have a lot to come up with very quickly.
Yeah, and yes, preparation is key to your success and everything in life.
Mhm.
However, you can't prepare for absolutely every eventuality or every question during an interview.
No, but
Have a thought.
I would have one thing that you definitely need to do: brush your teeth.
Oh, goodness.
Absolutely, brush your teeth.
Well, Shelley, when
And
you
put
when
a
you
bit of
smile as much
deodorant
as
on.
you, yeah, when you smile as much as you, I mean, and your teeth are on show there, yes, absolutely. Make sure those teeth are brushed all the time. I would completely agree with
We
that.
simple things.
But it is those simple things, and and I've coined a phrase because it is those little simple things that make a big difference, and it's a little by a little becomes a lot,
Absolutely.
and it's about
And that,
stacking that.
yeah. And that's what I say. Doing small things for accessibility and inclusion all lead to major improvements. And that's exactly the same when it comes to here with the interviews.
Well, that's it, isn't it? And it's a compounding factor. That
Mhm.
1 + 1 + 1 + 1 very quickly starts to add up.
Absolutely. And when you do those small things, they're they may have started off as big, but they become like nothing, and everything becomes so much more and more. And what I would say is, don't be disheartened by no's. No's are only telling you how you can improve and
Yeah.
go in stronger the next time.
Hmm.
Prepare and go in again.
Well, that's it, isn't it? That's it. And I suppose we may get to the question, Shelley, why we're here today, and it's about your worst interview ever. So I'm going
Oh
to pass
goodness.
this over to you now, okay? So
Hmm.
Shelley, tell us about your worst interview ever.
Well, it was something I said rather than what I was asked. I went to a local college at the point of not knowing what I wanted to do, what was available for me to do. And my brother pushed me into the wellbeing and into the reception of the college. And I said, "Oh, I really love education. I've got the bug now for it. I want to go in." And she says, "Oh, we'll see. We'll sit you down and we'll see what you can do." So, of course, with my mum being a nurse, I couldn't do childcare and I couldn't do anything like that. Things that I really, really wanted to do. And she says, "Have you ever thought of going down the business route?" And I sat there thinking, "No, don't want to do business." And I thought, well, it's my only option. So she said, "The business crew are having their interviews today. I'll just go and see if anybody's available." So I had absolutely no time to prepare. I knew nothing about business, and I was going for an interview. Supposedly, in the next 5 minutes, somebody was coming in to interview me. So in walks the lecturer, and she introduced herself as, "Hello, I'm Bridget Jones." And I went, "Hello, I'm Michelle Cowan, but my name doesn't add up to yours." And all I could think of was the movie and Bridget Jones's Diary, and everything from Big Knickers and everything was going through my head. And then she sat me down and she just asked me, "What do you know about business?" And I don't know how I did it, but I was able to say that my dad was a building constructor and things were going through crisis at the minute with the fall in the money. And I came out with some amount of stuff that I don't even know I had stored up. And she said, "Well, for somebody that said they didn't know anything about business, you seem to know a lot." And she said, "You're starting on Monday." So when you think that you have said the absolute amount of, I'm going to say, pile of whatever, and you think that you have fluked it, or you think that you have said the wrong thing, don't stress, because sometimes that can actually turn into a positive. From me saying yes, I did my foundation degree in business. I did my degree, and I went on to do my international business masters in business, and I have now set up a business. So that worst interview of my life has actually transpired into the best thing I've ever done.
There's a lesson in that. There's definitely a lesson in that with regards to the worst interview can turn out to be your best interview.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and just continue on, and maybe that impromptu moment when you didn't have time to prepare or over
No.
prepare, and you were then just being your natural, normal self. And
Hmm.
sometimes when we use the word business, people get a little confused on what that actually means, and they start pulling like large information around and using big words, whereas it's as simple as
And
it's a business.
And sometimes if you over prepare for something, you go in too stressed and you think, "I have to remember this, I have to remember that." But for me, I was put on the spot. And I know I say I came out with a pile of nonsense. I didn't. I came out with stuff that actually surprised me. I came out with figures. I came out with names. I was able to talk about business as if I knew it my whole life. And I surprised myself. And by not preparing, I think it showed who the real person was. I wasn't stressing about trying to remember what happened in the newspaper last week. You know, if I had been studying and revising for that, that puts you under immense pressure to remember the absolute everything. Whereas I
Yeah.
just went in, thought, oh, sure, I'll try this. And it turned out all right. I thought, not really what I want to do. But sometimes life leads you down a pathway that you don't expect, and it actually turns out to be the best thing in life for you.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't always get what you want, but you
No,
might actually get what you need.
absolutely, absolutely. And it has managed to. Whenever I was studying, people used to say to me, "What are you studying for? So you're never going to use it. What are you studying for?" I was studying to not sit in a corner and mope and whinge about how I was. I was studying to better myself to the someday that I could use it, or someday that I could feel achieved, accomplished. And sometimes that's all you need in life. Something to drive you forward and a purpose in life. And
Mm.
I've found my purpose in life now, and that's helping people with disabilities be able to integrate into society. I set up a group called Just Us 5 years ago, and that's to provide adults with disabilities regular social and inclusive, accessible activities. And that's something that I would never have done if I never had gone through these challenges. So
Yeah.
just remember, through challenges come many an opportunity. And life has a way of showing you what is out there and what's needed for you.
It absolutely does. And I love that. Through challenges comes opportunity.
Opportunity.
Oh, that's
Opportunity not just for yourself, but many a thing has, many an organization or maybe has set up from hardship and to help others. And that's what we have to deal with. We all are going through challenges, and just help everybody through it. And in an interview, if things aren't working out and you're getting stressed, just think, is this really worth it? You know what I mean? Like, just enjoy it, be there in the moment, and just think, this could be leading me somewhere in life, that I will never ever have imagined.
Yeah. Shelley, I think we just heard potentially another title for another book in there as well, by the way. I just
What
picked
was
up on
that?
something you said, someday,
Someday.
and you said
Someday.
someday, someday. I think
And
that was
another one is yet. I love the word yet.
oh, I love the word yet. You know what? You and I could probably sit here for the next hour and talk about the word yet.
Yeah.
I'm a great, great believer in the word yet. It just changes how I am as a person to be the person I want to be.
Mhm. That's
And I, and
it's
I and I and I'm a great advocate for this word for so many other people as well.
and you know, never give up. The falls come and the no's come, and life is not all about always being told yes and that you will get your way. We've had to learn that as life goes on,
Mm.
but always remember that those no's will lead to a better yes and a better outcome.
Shelley, that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. I have had such a wonderful time today with yourself. I have picked up so much. My notebook here is filled with those lovely little sayings that you have, and I'm
You may
going to
send
steal
them
them with
over to me.
pride.
I can't
I'm going to
remember
steal them with pride, Shelley. I'm going to steal them with pride because they
them.
are fantastic. But there are three major takeaways that I want our listeners to really take away today that I picked up on. And the first one for me is you get out what you put in, and that's so true. If you decide that you don't want to put any time or effort into preparing yourself for an interview, and I know we discussed about over preparation, but if you don't want to put any time or effort into preparing for an interview, firstly, potentially it may not come to where you want it to be, or you may not get the job that you really want. Now, yes, the no's may take you to where you actually want to be or you actually need to be. However, still preparation is important and
It's,
getting out what you put in is
it's a
important.
bit like, if you want a healthy body, you need to eat right and you need to give it the right exercise. And there are going to be times when you don't want that 6 a.m. start at the gym. But if you want the outcome, you got to put in what's right. And
Yeah,
it's the same. It's not just for interviews, it's the same in life. Put
yeah,
in what you want out.
absolutely. Absolutely. And you're right, sometimes those 6 a.m.s, and I am a morning person, those 6 a.m. gym sessions can be tough. But if you want the benefits and you want the outcomes, then you
You
gotta get up
gotta
and you
do
gotta do it.
it.
That's it. You just gotta get up and do it.
Gotta do it.
And the second one takeaway for me was to make sure you have questions for the interviewers, because it's not a one-way interrogation. This is a two-way conversation. And make sure you have questions prepared, even if they have to be written down so that you don't have to remember them. Because sometimes that can trip you up going, I need to remember this question so I can ask it at the end. Have them written down.
I think a good question to ask would be about their values. Because when you find out what their values, if they can tell you straight away what their values are, then that's a very good organization.
Yeah.
If somebody ums and ahs and I'm not sure and I'm not sure, they haven't a clue what they stand for. And I would not go along with it.
Oh, I like that. I wish you'd have said that earlier. That would have been one of my takeaways. So now I have four takeaways. Four takeaways. So the third and final takeaway is to be very clear. And I suppose it does tie in with what you've just said. Be very clear with your own values and how they align with the company values.
Absolutely.
And you're right. If you ask the question in the interview and they don't actually know what their values are, then they potentially aren't living them.
And potentially, if you know that they're not the right values, don't go on as a full-blown interview. Just sit back and know that this is not for you. Answer, but don't fully give yourself. And, why would you continue
Yeah.
to even fully give yourself in an interview and fully throw everything out on the table if you know exactly when you've asked that question that this company's not right for me?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, just get up, walk out and say, that just wasn't for me.
Yeah. And it's having that courage to stand up and say, thanks for your time.
Yeah.
This just isn't for me.
This
And
isn't for me. And you asked a question about money. Should you ask how much you earn? I always believe that let the interviewee or see what you have and discuss money at the end if you want, but it's not, do not show that money is your be all and end all. It's values is a main thing to me, and do they align, and your happiness. But if you go in full blown as how much am I going to earn in here, then the interviewer is going to look at you and say, this person's only going to be here for money. They are not going to have what it takes, for this organization. So it's just be very careful.
Yeah, absolutely. Shelley, you keep giving little nuggets here of gold all the time. You're gonna have to stop because we are coming to the end. Shelley, where can anybody reach out to you if they want to?
Oh goodness, well you can just support all the campaigns I'm doing. Access Avenue is on my website, and I'm either Access Avenue or Shelley Cowan on all the socials. And just what I would say is go for it, and just think that there's others going through worse than you. And what can the worst happen in an interview? What is the worst? Somebody can say no.
And that's it, isn't it?
That's it.
On that lovely note, I think it's time to wrap up. Shelley, it has been an absolute treat to have you on the show today. And I'm sure so many people have taken away so much, because I know I have. So thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me, Kevin. And good luck with all your interviews.
Thank you.
For more details about our guest, or if you would like to be a guest, go to www.interviewskillscoach.co.uk/my-worst-interview-ever, or find us on Facebook or LinkedIn. And remember, on the other side of a successful interview is the life you deserve.